So we are heading into the end of our first month of the 3-month White Tara retreat. And today we are having billions and trillions and limitless white taras falling on our heads and dissolving into blissful wisdom nectar. And so I've been thinking about what I'd like to share with you about the sadhana. And in the past few days, I've been thinking about White Tara, and she has been telling me to think about death and impermanence. I mean, we have a lot of really beautiful sadhanas on different Buddhas, and this is the only one that really asks us to think about untimely death and what can happen to us and how we can not have the lifespan that we wish and that we want. And for those of us who are who have garnered a precious human rebirth, it makes this life even more rare and even more precious. And so the past few days I've been thinking about White Tara and what is it that she's trying to guide me and inspire me to do. So I have gone back and revisited the Lamrim meditation on death and impermanence. Because I don't know about the rest of you folks, but I generally have, I mean, an intellectual understanding that, you know, death is certain. I can go there in my head. And now that I'm going to be 56 years old, which I can't even imagine how I got here, is that, you know, death is on the horizon somewhere in the distant future, but it's getting a little bit closer. But there's this second point in the Lamrim meditation that the time of death is uncertain. And that's the one that I've been thinking about, because this whole idea of, in the practice, is about we're trying to purify the negative karma and the disturbing attitudes and the causes that cause disease, interferences, and the dangers of untimely death. So here we are, we've garnered this beautiful, precious human rebirth, and due to ethical discipline and protecting life, some of us have lived to be at least 55, 56 years old, and hopefully will live a long, long time. But somewhere in our mind streams, at least this is the way that I've been thinking about it the past few days to really deepen my understanding of this Lamrim meditation, is that somewhere since beginningless time, I have created the causes for an untimely death. It's out there somewhere. I have no idea because I'm not a Buddha, but it's out there. And the way that I think about it is that that would come upon me because sometime, or many times in one of my countless lifetimes, I have harmed another sentient being with the mind of rejoicing. That I have taken delight in either torturing them, maiming them, beating them, killing them, cutting them into little pieces, and being glad that I did it. And so I have garnered this beautiful, precious human rebirth, of which so far the lifespan is going along, and perhaps through a lot of ethical discipline I have cultivated a long life. And in the background somewhere is this negative karma that may one day, we see it all the time, that people just go out into their life and their life is severed. Whether they're 15 years old or 75 years old, there are things in this world that can be the cause of untimely death due to this negative karma that ripens. So the second point of the 9-point death meditation is that the time of death is uncertain, and that there is no certainty. People die of all ages. That we have an understanding of, at least on an intellectual level I do. But the last two are, there are more chances of dying and less of remaining alive. That during the course of our day we put a lot of energy keeping ourselves warm, keeping ourselves sheltered, keeping ourselves fed, and that keeping this body alive on a daily basis takes a lot of energy. And that over the years I read many times people in their efforts to clothe and feed and shelter themselves have come upon an untimely death, whether they've choked on a piece of food, or they have fallen off the roof of the home that they were replacing a shingle on, or they'd gone outside and underestimated the weather conditions and had died of hypothermia. So here they are just basically taking care of their physical needs, and this negative karma with who knows which cooperative conditions has ripened and severed their lives. So this life, despite how precious it is extremely fragile. We have, during this degenerate time, we have all sorts of diseases. We have sharp instruments, sharp objects, we've got thorns, we've got viruses, we've got bacteria, we've got icy roads. We've got horses that lose their footing and fall down on top of people. So what white tar is telling me in this sadhana is, Semke, you have garnered this precious life. Purify as deeply and sincerely as you can. And this is the part of the practice where the beautiful light and nectar is just pouring down from the Tama at her heart, just pouring down through purifying all the causes and conditions that could bring disease, which makes it difficult enough to practice, illness. I mean, I don't know about you folks, but when I'm sick and I'm not feeling well, my mind, it's so hard to focus on the Dharma and to use it on, to take it onto the path. I'm too spaced out, I'm too worried about my health, the future, much less having something unsuspecting come into our life that will end our lives quickly. Because we're sort of like these little vehicles in samsara riding along. We have these gas tanks filled with life force and life energy, but the gas gauge is broken. Okay, so that's hard enough to digest, but then somewhere along the line, something's going to sever the gas line. And we don't know when that's going to happen, or what causes and conditions that we have created that we're holding in our mind streams that may have that happen. So the fact that there is a sadhana practice that specifically helps us to purify, or at least to dispel or to lessen the karmic imprints that could bring huge obstacles to this of having a long, happy, healthy human life, so that we can continue to practice the Dharma and also to continue to create the causes and conditions to have another precious human rebirth and another and another and another. So white tar is giving me the opportunity to look and see at my complacency about death, the fact that I think because I'm in good health and that I live at the Abbey that I'm somehow protected from my own negative karma, and that's simply not true. So this practice and this meditation on death and impermanence, and the fact that I don't want the cause and conditions of an untimely death to sever this precious life, because I met the Dharma fairly late in my life and I have some catching up to do, and I don't want it to be severed sooner than at all possible, so that I can continue to practice the Dharma until I'm an old nun. And so I've used the white tar practice to bring me back into the mindfulness of how precious this life is, and that I have to purify whatever causes and conditions there could be in my mind to bring a short life or a life that's filled with a lot of obstacles to my practice. So may white tar help you, inspire you for a long, happy life.